Hello, everybody in the chess world. So today we're going to see part two of the Shirov's modern defense. And well, in the previous video, for which obviously I'll leave you the links on the description, but we saw this modern defense for black in which, well, after playing this fianchetto, we play c6 instead of the most typical modern or paired defense with d6. And well, we were looking at the line with bishop on c4. And after d6, we saw this knight on f3 and the expansion. This was the idea: b5, bishop b3, a5, just threatening to trap the bishop. And yeah, pretty modern. But I wanted to see today one approach by white that I kind of suggested on that video, but we didn't really analyze. And it will be to play a4 right at this moment. Okay, there are different versions for this, but the idea will always be the same. White plays a4. They simply prevent this b5 for us. And, well, we get a totally different positions from which the ones that I showed you in the first video. And, well, through the more, let me start by a personal opinion. I think a4 is maybe the best move for white. So not only they're preventing b5 for us, but in a way they're threatening or at least, put it on the table, well, to simply continue with a5. So this can be annoying sometimes, as an example. I mean, it really depends, but for example, we can play this a5, which is what I'm going to suggest basically. And I will show you the plans involving that. But you'll see that there are different versions. I mean, I face also some schemes more like a Saemisch, with f3. I will show you a game like that. This is also played. Bishop on e3 and trying to wait a little bit is, again, always possible. So, well, for example, let us go back to here. We play this a4, and I like this a5 move because, well, one of our plans is going to be, besides, of course, preventing a5 by white. Well, we want to play knight on a6, knight on b4, knight on f6, and g5, taking advantage of this attack on the bishop on c4. Okay, I will show you as well lines in which we kind of go for the same plan without having the bishop on c4. But you get the idea. The b4 square is kind of offered for our knight, and we can just let this knight rest on that square, and at the right moment, just play the central break with d5. So let me go back to, for example, this position. Let us say that white plays the classical line, without bishop on c4. I want to show you what could be, the drawbacks for us if we do allow an a5 for white. So as an example, let us play knight on f6, just let us allow a5. So white does play a5. So one of the problems is that, well, they've prevented b5 forever because they'll always can take en passant, and of course we have this hanging rook in here on a8. But the other thing is we've already played c6. So this point a7 is pretty weak for us. We cannot think about b6. We probably shouldn't think about an a6 move because then bishop on e3 will be here on the square on b6. So I mean, this a4 a5 plan for white it's pretty interesting. Let me give you another example because we might not be able to fight for the d file just because of this weakness on a7. I'll give you just a really quick example, but this is fun. Let us play castles, bishop on c4, the other idea of a5. They want the space on the queen side, and we cannot kick out that bishop with b5. But look at this. Let us play normal plan for black, playing for e5. Take with white, h3, to prevent any knight on g4 so they can play bishop on e3. And look at this. I'll make normal development. There's the bishop on e3, rook d8. And you can see what I was talking about. Look at this position. Basically, we cannot really fight for the g file with black because they can always at the end play some bishop takes on a7. If the rook on a8 is trying to recapture here, and we don't have this typical way of trapping the bishop so it cannot, come back from here. I mean, that doesn't exist in this position because the way the pawns are, So it's really interesting that plan with a5. So I guess these are the reasons why, after a4, I really like this a5. I'm stopping a5 for white. And I also have this idea, which is, well, you kind of have to know it by theory in here, this little wheel with the knight, then the other knight in here, maybe with d5. But as I said, we'll see examples with bishop on c4 or without. So, let us start by, for example, bishop on c4 in here. So after d6, a4, preventing b5, proposing a5. Again, as I showed this a5 idea, and let us continue now with the concrete moves. So knight on f3, knight on a6, as we said. Well, here we're going to suggest the normal castles. If knight on g5, can I immediately go in for f7? We can even just play knight on h6. And I don't think we should be afraid of stuff like h4, h5 to open up the position, because knight b4, and it's like we're on time, dispute the center also with a tempo on the bishop. We're fine here. But okay, against, more normal castles, again, this is what I wanted to show you, this little plan. So h3, knight on f6. And once again, we're aiming all our pieces to make the d5 pawn break. This is what we're aiming for. And yeah, you might wonder why it is necessary to have both knights over the square. Well, in general terms, we want to recapture on d5 with a piece. In general terms, it is possible to recapture with a pawn, but in general, it will be better with a piece. So, for example, bishop on g5, we don't even castle. We are ready to play d5. And yes, when they take it, well, as I said, we just recapture with a piece. And we're fine here. This is again the Brenska-2273 rated against Warkomski 2488. Pretty strong players. The game continued, rook e1 castles. Normal development. Well, even bishop on f5. There are ideas of knight on b4 in here. Why not just going back? We will be just hitting the C pawn. My cat seems to have an opinion on the subject. So that is why the white played bishop on d3, and after the exchange, we saw normal moves. We do have this queen on b6. Finally, rook a8. Here both players have developed all of their pieces, and it's pretty equal. Another example is, well, deviating a little bit of these lines, but I wanted to show you a game that I played in which my opponent went for the Saemisch line, with white. But yeah, this was our game. So he is going to play f3 in a little while, but we still have the same characteristics of the line that I'm showing you. We have a4, a5. We also have the bishop on c4. It means we still have the normal plan, knight a6, knight b4, knight f6, e5. So let's see what happened in the game, because after knight f3, now he went on f3. It makes more sense, just solidifying the e4 pawn. And then again, we'll see, black doing the same turn. This is what I did with black. He's developing normally, but it's funny. He obviously did not know the plan for black, because, considering that I'm going to play d5 on the next move, g5 is one of the worst moves. It's understandable why I wanted to lash out and attack on the king side, but, well, now the answer, the response d5 is actually stronger than with the pawn on g2, let us say. So the game saw this, again, I can always take with a piece on d5. He gave out the bishop and went here, but I played really simple. Takes, exchange. He has to take with the pawn because d4 is hanging, and simply queen on d5, super active. I'm ready to play e5. He went queen on f4, but after, well, here, I remember here I thought like 30 minutes, because there are a lot of moves, even e5 immediately. But b6 with idea of bishop on a6 is quite annoying. He played rook g1, and after bishop on a6, simply had a clear advantage. So again, the difference here was like this Saemisch scheme for white, but same characteristics: a4, a5, bishop on c4. And well, this led us to our final and main game, which, I always like to usually like to show, like a really crushing victory for the side of the opening that I'm kind of defending. So, well, this is going to be Vladimir Akopian with the black pieces playing this opening. So it was a 2656 rated player. And, well, his opponent is this so-called Castaño. 2219 is not a bad rating, but of course, compared to a super strong GM, well, we'll see some mistakes by white and finally a pretty quick victory for Akopian. So we saw d6, a4, a5, h3, and this is the other thing for which this is an important example for me. It's not only showing like a black winning in a really crushing way, but you'll see in this line, white will not include bishop on c4. So technically, the fact of not including this move, it is more testing for us, because now, yeah, we can search for the same plan if we want to, going for this e5, but there is no contact, when our opponent gets to d5 against this bishop on c4. So, hey, it looks like this is an improvement for white, at least regarding the plan that I'm showing you. But okay, this was again, Akopian, well, play the same plan, bishop on e3, knight b4. And here, once again, I detailed for which, to me, this is really useful example to understand this opening. Look at what this only 2200 rated player did here. Knight on b1. This is a resource that I haven't talked about before, but white sometimes do this simply to allow c3 kicking out the knight on b4. I mean, it's playable. It's an idea. It's an interesting idea. Okay, our knight is not trapped. It will simply have to go back to a6. Not so terrible. But yeah, that is why I look at the way, a strong player reacts. Well, you'll abandon the center, or you just play d5. And because now, again, if they take it, well, I can take even with the knight if I want. e5. Now knight on h6. Again, this kind of modern character where we can search for knight on f5 and h5, more in Gorgonitze defense style. And in the game, well, okay, correctly, white included c3, kicking out Akopian's knight that went to a6, but Akopian is finding here queen d2, well, knight on f5, obviously. A white player did not want to give the pair of bishops, so he went bishop on f4. h5, securing the outpost for our knight, not allowing, funky stuff with g4, and maybe one day play in h4 ourselves. But there was no time. b4 was, I don't know if about move looks a little bit dubious. Knight c7 by Akopian, and I like this move. He's just, again, very much in Gorgonitze's style. He just wants to go knight on e6 pretty quickly. He doesn't worry about this bishop not being developed, and therefore this rook, maybe not being developed. I mean, position is pretty close, so black is fine. They can allow, they can afford what I meant, just playing maneuvers. And after bishop on d3, well, this is the first little surprise, is knight on e6. I mean, it turns out that bishop takes on f5 will simply receive the intermediate knight takes on f4. And now Akopian will be totally fine against, now it's an exchange in which, well, he even got development, he has a pair of bishops, and you gotta watch out, because if in this position, this what he had to calculate beforehand. I mean, what about bishop takes on c8? It looks like we're losing because they just took our minor piece, and we cannot just recapture the bishop. We'll lose it here, but of course he has seen this intermediate move. But with bishop on h6, we protect the knight. We threaten knight takes g2 check, followed by taking the queen, and then Akopian will be able to recapture the bishop. So once again, black will be more than fine. This will be just a clear advantage for black. Again, this is, the strong grandmaster showing, his class. This is the typical. Well, but the game did not last much longer. the white player, actually Castaño, he saw this whole sequence. So here he did not take on f5. He just went bishop on h2. But after a takes b4 and c takes b4, well, another surprise part by the GM. Look at this. I like this last part because it's a tactical sequence that is quite pretty. So first of all, knight takes on d4, exclam, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, and well, why did I say exclam? It looks like we just won a pawn, but yeah, bishop takes on g6 was white's answer, and of course, Akopian had to have calculated this beforehand. He did, and it's so it's like so pretty, this line, really. Look at this. I mean, obviously we won't take the bishop on g6. Queen takes d4 makes no sense, but this move, queen on b6, it's rare to see a move that has so many threats all together. I mean, first of all, we're protecting the knight, so that means that, well, now we're just threatening an absolutely good f takes on g6, but we're also threatening knight on b3, which is, double attack. So, I mean, and look at this, we're even threatening bishop takes on h3, because then white wouldn't be able to recounter because of the double check. So this queen on b6 is amazing, the amount of threats that it has. So again, it's just a very strong GM showing his class. The game followed a5. It's a good intermediate move, but of course, Akopian had seen that he still had one more square available for the queen to hide, and protect the knight, and maintaining all the threats, knight b3, f takes g6, and bishop takes on h3. And in fact, white played bishop on c2. Okay, no more knight b3, and no more f takes g6, but bishop takes on h3 is the one that he couldn't attend. And this is so strong because he's also threatening bishop takes on g2. So finally, king on f1 by white, bishop on h6, everyone is joining the party. Queen c3, and now Akopian just made it simple. Knight takes, queen on d4. She's threatening 1,000 stuff. The queen on the rook on a1 is one of the main ones, so that's why white play rook on a4. But very beautiful finishing touch. Bishop on f5. Of course, I mean, if you it would be pretty to finish the game with queen on d1 mate. But okay, after bishop on f5, Castaño simply resigned. So an interesting way to play, also an important alternative for everything that I show you on the first video. We looked pretty aggressive with b5 and a5 with black, but that is why it was extremely useful to know what to do against a4, stopping that. So thanks a lot for watching. I will see you next time. Just remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, till next time. Bye-bye.